We're here in another episode of In Your 20s. We're here with the legendary Ko. He's a audio engineer, and honestly, I heard a background about you too, and dude, honestly, it's surreal of what you've done over the past years too.
Yeah.
We're here in your studio right now, and it's actually really cool. So we have a couple questions for you. Like, what made you get into music?
So I always loved music as a kid. I would be one of those people that would listen to music and my headphones kind of rap the songs in the mirror, stuff like that. I always just loved the way music made me feel and how it could take me out of a certain mood or put me into a certain mood. I was a football player growing up, so I was listening to a lot of hype music and stuff, and they would get me going for a game or whatnot. I started recording my own music in high school and then bought a bunch of studio equipment, and I had to learn how to make that work. Shortly after that, anybody I would collaborate with, they would record with me at the crib, and they liked the way that I made things sound. So then I started recording other people's music, in high school and early college. And I remember sitting down working on somebody's song for 7 hours, and looked up and thought only an hour went by. I looked up at the clock and realized 7 hours went by, and that was kind of the eureka moment for me. That was this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to engineer. So then from there on, it was how do I get into that? I graduated high school, didn't really know how to get into engineering because a lot of these traditional universities, for their music technology programs, they require you to have classical training in music, which I did not have. I found a trade school out here, went to that, and then I got an internship here at Classic Studios and started kind of working my way up the ladder through just doing normal intern duties. It's not really a pretty thing to be an intern. It's a lot of grunt work, cleaning the studio and stuff like that, but if you do your part, engineers will let you sit in on their sessions, take whatever knowledge you gain, and once they started letting me book my own sessions as an intern, I was okay, I'm gonna prove my value to this place. And I just started trying to bring in as many clients as possible, and then eventually I worked my way out of the internship by just bringing in sessions and not really having time to intern. So that's really how I kind of got to the point of me working at this studio and getting into audio in general.
Right. So with music, so I usually hear only about producers. This is my first time hearing about audio engineer. So what's the difference between that?
So sometimes they're one and the same, but the main difference, audio engineers, we record the artists. Sometimes producers record the artist. In that case, that producer's taking on the role of an engineer. But we're the ones working with the audio. We're recording it. We're doing all the technical things after the song's done to make all these sounds blend together in a cohesive, pleasing manner. A lot of the songs that you hear, a lot of people don't understand why those songs are actually good. Obviously the artist has to make a dope song, the artist has to be talented, but we're the ones kind of enhancing that feeling and doing the technical things, make these sounds all blend together and feel cohesive in one. Through affecting the frequency spectrum with equalizers, compression, certain creative effects to really bring out the artist's vision for how that song is supposed to feel. So a producer, generally people would perceive a producer to be the one that makes the beat, and producers do make beats, but there's a difference between beat makers and producers. You know what I mean? You could be a producer and not even have made the beat. Example, old school producer Quincy Jones, he wasn't the one that he wasn't the one making the music, but he knew what he wanted to hear. Brought in certain musicians, would tell Michael Jackson what takes to do, how to deliver the take. So even as an engineer, I consider myself a producer in that regard, because I coach a lot of artists through songs, come up with ideas for them. Sometimes if they're stuck, I'll have certain flows in my head that I'm hey, maybe you should do do the next part like this. And with a lot of artists recording on the spot and not like writing their songs per se, like on pen and paper and their phone nowadays, like their songwriting process is literally them punching bar by bar sometimes. So it's a freestyle going through the song like part by part. And so like I try to help facilitate an environment that allows them to do that, you know what I mean? So I could be an engineer and a producer in one, but there is a distinct difference, if that makes any sense.
So how long does that take though? Because I know like when a artist drops a single, we're just like, when's the next one, right? So how long does it take for the process to make a song? Like it has to go producer and then audio engineer and then whatever. How does that work? How's the process looking like?
Everybody's process is different and the timeline is different. Like you could be in a session and record 5, 6, 10, however many songs in one session, depending upon whether or not they want to come back and, you know, fix a certain part after hearing it back, or you know, the timeline between when they come back and not. Like there's songs that sometimes might have been made like 3 years ago that are just coming out now, and you would never know they were made 3 years ago. But it's not that it took them 3 years to make it. It's just like, here's a song they recorded. They might not have liked it at the time, but then you know, they decide they like it now, or they might have forgotten about that song and they heard it again. Oh, we need to finish this. Or the song was made 3 years ago and it didn't fit whatever project they were working on, and now they're just deciding now to get it mixed and presented to be put out. So it's all over the place, man.
That's crazy. So like you went to 2 years to trade school, you said. So knowing what you knew going into trade school, did anything that you're doing now, did trade school teach you that? Did college teach you that? Like
the technical aspects and concepts of you know, the craft, that's kind of what that was focused on. What it didn't really do was like kind of prepare you for the landscape of like how the industry works. Like, so the internship is how I learned how an audio engineer does business, how a studio does business, how the workflow is. You know, in school we recorded mainly like live bands, which is cool because it teaches you a lot about mic placement and how to set up microphones for a plethora of instruments. You know, you might have 10 mics on a drum set, you know what I mean? And you have to know what mic sounds good on the kick, what mic sounds good on the snare, etc. But like the recording process for bands is a little bit different. Once I stepped into like, you know, I mainly work on R&B, rap music, pop music, stuff like that, where it's you know, producers making beats, and you know, those sounds are samples, so most of those sound good already. I don't have to like do too much to like mix these sounds to make them sound like amazing, like how you would for like a live drum kit or whatnot. But like all that stuff like is a little bit different than recording a vocalist, because you know, people think that, you know, just recording a vocal with one mic is like something that's easy, but you got to be fast, man. Like you got to keep up with the artist. The pace and the speed at which these sessions are ran was like a little bit overwhelming at first compared to like what school taught me, if that makes any sense.
Okay. Cause I just asked you that question because everything we've learned with the podcast, we didn't learn from school. We learned from YouTube. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Doing, man.
Experience. There we go. Trial and error. That's pretty much why I asked. I'm like, did trade school actually teach you all this? Because I'm like, what you're doing is amazing. Did school really teach you this? Because I know they teach you the basics, but never put you in the trial and error phase, you know?
But that's with anything in general, man. Like, you know, even if you're doing a traditional job, like accounting or like finance or something like that, like there's stuff that you're not gonna understand until you're actually like in the workforce. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's bizarre. And with the time frame, what's the time frame an artist gives you when they want the song engineered, the audio engineered?
That's all over the board too. Some people, you know, like some people will give me a week, some people give me however long I want. It's just really up to the situation. Generally speaking, like you don't put out a release date for a song until like it's all completed anyways. That's obviously not the case at all times. Sometimes you do have deadlines and you gotta be efficient and work fast and be able to meet the deadline, hold yourself accountable for that. Like, you know, I like having as much time as I need to do something, but sometimes that's also constricting as well, because like the more time I have to do something, the more time I overthink it, rather than just like having that pressure on me to act on instinct and trusting my gut. You know what I mean?
So how does pay work for those situations? Like if they tell you a deadline, since it's like a short amount of time, do you like charge them extra, or do you charge them per hour that you work?
For like mixes, like if somebody's not coming, I'll charge like a flat rate. That includes a certain amount of revisions. If there's more revisions than that, then you know, we gotta have that discussion. I have people that come in and work hourly, so if it's a recording session, you're paying by the hour. Sometimes I do hourly mixing too, which is the same thing.
Okay.
The higher the caliber, the higher the artist is, I feel like the more pressure you have, right?
Right.
So like I saw on your page, on your website, I was scrolling through your Instagram, that you work with Tory Lanez, right? Correct?
Yeah.
Juice WRLD
Yeah.
and GHERBO and more Sada. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name wrong.
Saba.
There we go.
Saba.
How does that pressure feel when you're working with those high caliber artists? You know what I mean?
To be honest, like it's all the same, bro. Like you have to treat everything like it's the same, because really I'm doing the same job I always do. Like obviously if there's a bigger artist that has a bigger platform, it's a bigger opportunity for you to showcase your work, and you would want that to be good. But the better the artist is, the easier my job is too, because they know all these things that maybe a beginner or a non-established artist wouldn't. So like mixing records for artists that know what they're doing is really easy. I think the more difficult side of working with more established artists on the recording end is they're very efficient. So you have to be fast and be able to keep up with them so they don't lose their ideas. Like we're here to cultivate a vibe. We're here to make them feel comfortable, and we're here to kind of like allow them to be the, you know, Pro Tools, the program I use, to be their canvas to come up with their ideas. So you don't want to waste any time. Every artist works at a different pace. Some come in and write their songs. Some write their songs on the spot by just freestyling and piecing it together. So every situation is very different. But as far as pressure, you can't really think about pressure, because you're there to do a job, and that job is essentially the same thing for everybody. You know what I mean?
No, that's insane. And I, on that topic too as well, so I saw Juice WRLD, RIP him, but like how was that working with him, and how did that approach comp? Like did you, obviously I feel like he contacted you first?
So the owner of the studio, Chris Classic, he manages an artist named Smino, and at that time Smino, I think, was signed to like a subsidiary of Interscope, and Juice WRLD was signed to Interscope. So he made that connection for me, and the first session I had with him, he gave me his number after the session, and then he continued to work with me. I had about 4 sessions with him, and then I believe he moved out to LA, so it was like that was kind of done with.
So this was like 2020, I'm assuming 2019?
It was either 2018 or 2019, one of those two.
So he was blown up already when you were working with him?
Yeah, it was kind of like right when he was up. Like,
oh shit,
you know, that I believe like with him, like that was like that, a lot of that happened super fast.
Yeah.
So I believe that was like right around the time that like he blew up, you know what I mean?
4 sessions, yeah.
So in those sessions, did you guys end up like completing a song, or no?
Oh man, because like all the stories that you probably have heard about like how that kid works is
insane.
It's insane, dude. Like at the time, like I can't really process it, because like I said, like I have to keep up with him because of the way he works. He doesn't write. It's all freestyle. So you don't want him to lose his ideas. You gotta know what you're doing. Well, he was a pretty easygoing guy, man. Like very genuine. Like you wouldn't, you know, generally with like people that are that big, and especially as big of an artist he was and how fast he blew up, you would think at that age too, it'd be really easy to lose yourself or not be like grounded. But it was just like, man, like genuine person. You know, obviously only did 4 sessions with him, so it's like I can't sit here and be like, no dude like that.
Right,
you know what I mean? But like my experience with him was like very pleasant, and you know, I've made about like 10 or recorded about like 10 songs with him.
Oh, wow.
And the funny thing is, it's like they'll book an 8-hour session, show up 6 hours late, only have 2 hours to work, and he would record and write like 4 songs in those 2 hours.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
crazy.
Any songs that came out or hits?
No, none of them came out.
Unreleased.
One of them was supposed to come out, I believe, and then was supposed to make one of his previous albums before he had passed, and it just didn't end up happening. But like, they're still releasing posthumous albums, so like, you know, there's still a chance that some of those might come out.
That's insane.
But, you know, his fans do a pretty good job trying to leak music. Like, they contact me all the time. It's like I don't respond, and it's like
that's dope.
Respect that,
that's like, dude, it's like I don't like, if you're a fan of somebody's music, like I understand you want as much of that music as you can, but like that's not finished products. Like, that's doing a disservice to the artist that you love.
Yeah,
so
100%.
like, that music is not ready to come out. Like,
but let's say if one music did come out, would you make royalties off that, or how does that work? The payment works.
So generally engineers, we're work for hire, right? So you guys our hourly rate or whatever the agreed upon rate is. If I had like production value to it, then I might get a point. And a point's just like a percentage. A lot of times, I guess it just depends on the situation. Some engineers, like if you're like a very established engineer that's like mixing, you know, big records all the time, part of your payment might be like you get a percentage. But more often than not, like if you're getting royalties as a mixer, probably only like 1 to 3%. But that 1 to 3% could be
thousands of dollars.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
They're making millions of dollars. Yeah. Because GHERBO's still alive, obviously. So I saw GHERBO, Tory Lanez. Like, since GHERBO, any songs that you've made with him that came out, or? So
there was the session I did so I only did 1 session with him. The song that he did was a feature for somebody that came out. It was an artist named like Travis Marsh, I believe. He's I think he's just focusing on producing right now, but it's actually like it's kind of like a rock song. He did a feature. Tory Lanez, that was like, I want to say that might have been like 2015 that I recorded him. So he was pretty big and at the time, but not as big as like he had gotten. But he came through. You know the artist Spenzo?
No, I'm not.
You never heard the song Wyford?
Yes. With that one, I would never wife.
Yep. So Tory was doing a show in Chicago. Spenzo pulled up to that, and then it was Spenzo's session. He brought Tory to the session, and they were doing a feature together. And that, so I basically just recorded the initial idea for that song that came out. I forget the name of the song. I'll have to look that up. It's on SoundCloud, because that was before like
all these platforms came out.
So that was my experience working with him.
Yo, that's insane. So like working with all these high profile peoples, now you're 32, 33, so about to be 33, right?
No, I'm about to be 32 on Monday.
About to be 32. So it's been like maybe 10 years since you went to school. Did you think you were going to be in this position right now 10 years ago?
I would have to say yes, because like it's all kind of part of the plan, but I might not have been thinking that big at the time. I think while I was in school and prior to going to school, the goal was just to like make a living off of doing what I love, right? So it wasn't like, oh, like I'm gonna, you know, win a Grammy or get plaques or nothing. Like, you gotta get to that stage before you get to that stage, you know what I mean? But it's kind of funny how that works. Like, the more things you accomplish, the more you want, right? So like once I got to the point, you know, after a couple of years of like being able to make a living off of this, you know, you start wanting more, which is awesome, but it's always good to remind yourself of this is where you once wanted to be. So you should appreciate that.
100%.
How do you handle that stress though? Like, how do you handle, like, what do you do on your free time handling that stress? So yeah, you're appreciating it, but like, what do you do to, like, with your mental health?
My mental health, I work out a lot. I go for jogs that it clears my head. I lift weights. You know, just staying in shape, like, really helps me mentally, and always has, because one, you're keeping yourself busy.
Yeah.
Two, it actually does release endorphins. And you know, like, if I have to work a long session, like, say if I'm doing like a 12-hour session, right? We don't really, unless it's like agreed upon, I don't necessarily get like a structured break within that, because people are, oh, I'm paying by the hour, so I'm paying you for this amount of hours, right?
Yeah.
Those long sessions are actually like easy to deal with if you have like a hard workout before it, because you're like, I just did this super hard ass shit.
You got a pump.
This is gonna be mentally tough.
Yeah.
Like, but physically, like, I just ran 7 miles. Like, and you're telling me I get to sit in a chair for 12 hours?
Yeah.
I mean, the mental part is kind of, I don't really get physically tired when I work. It's really like the mental fatigue, because I have to think 5 steps ahead at like all times recording somebody. Like, and then if there's, you know, a session with like a lot of people in the room, there's a lot of distractions going on and a lot of things to juggle. And I also have to like facilitate the efficiency of the session. You know what I mean? So it's like, sometimes somebody as ADD as hell like me, like, that can be very mentally taxing on me.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about all that is like, the worst parts of me, I guess, have been, I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. Like, my weaknesses have all been kind of like rectified through doing this, because it's forced, like, you know, engineering, all that is like helped me overcome my weaknesses, because my weaknesses are things that can't be a weakness in doing this, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Trying to like frame that the right way sometimes. I'm, you know.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So, like, you listen to a lot of audio, right? Like, does it ever get tiring, like, just listening to that? Or like just listening to music all day? Like, I like to switch it up by like putting a podcast on it.
No, the funny thing is like, people can't believe that, like, in my free time I don't listen to music. They're like, well, I thought you love music. I'm like, I do, but I'm also, I could be working on music 8-12 hours a day or whatever. Like, one, your ears physically need a rest, like, and I need these to make a living, right? So I can't damage them. Two, like, you know, it's just like, I'm good, like, off just listening to, like, I do listen to music in my free time, but I don't go out of my way to do it all the time unless, like, I need inspiration. But yeah, I love listening to podcasts, like, when I'm in the car, just because, you know, beating the crap out of your ears all day is pretty taxing too, and then it skews even in a day, right? So it's something called ear fatigue, and once ear fatigue sets in, you're actually not hearing things accurately. The most important thing as an engineer is to hear accurately. So a lot of times I have to listen to things that I'm working on at a very low level, low enough that you could hear my fingers typing on the keyboard.
Really?
And the funny thing about that is that artists don't understand is that actually makes you hear it more accurately. The balance. So like when we're talking about like the frequencies, like the balance of like the bass, mids, treble, you actually hear that balance more accurately at a low level.
Really?
So
that's crazy.
People would think the louder you turn something up, the more you can hear. But yeah, I mean, certain like little aspects of detail, but like broad stroke picture, you will come up with a better mix listening to it at a lower level, because you hear the frequency spectrum better.
That's crazy. To elaborate on that, did you ever think of making like music yourself, like rapping?
I mean, I did. That's how I got into engineering, because I was recording myself. But like, I don't want to be an artist, man. I do record myself from time to time, like on some like songwriting stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it also helps me sharpen my tools for helping artists, like whether it's relaying a vocal idea to them. I'm the type of person that I can show somebody better than I can tell them. And and I think most people, especially artists, are that way too. So if there's something I'm trying to tell them to do that they don't get, I'll just be like, hold up, I'm gonna come in the booth and record myself. And once they hear the actual vocal of like the melody I'm relaying to them, or the energy, they actually have like the real thing in real time that they can listen to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's dope, bro. That's dope. How long do you think like you're gonna do this for? Like till you make your own record label, or?
I don't know. Like future plans with like, I think I always do want to engineer.
Okay.
But it's like, I guess I'm like, I don't know if I want to own a record label. Like I don't see myself being taken out of like the trenches of this like necessarily. I really love engineering. I think maybe at some point I might evolve into you know, wanting to do more songwriting, but engineering ties into that, because songwriters, the way that works is they actually record the songs.
Okay.
So they have like the actual thing to show artists, you know what I mean? So they can actually hear it. 'Cause you don't know if you want to do a song unless you hear what the idea of the song is, right? So, you know, if I get more into that, then I don't need an engineer. Like I can do that myself.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which could make me more efficient in doing that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I ever want to own like a label or studio, to be honest, because it just doesn't seem like I would enjoy it. Now, you know, maybe at some point I would like to only mix and not have to record people. And in that case, I would, you know, have my own studio set up, but like not have it be like it just be my own personal workspace. If that makes any sense. Not like an open to the public studio.
That makes a lot of sense. Who would you want to work with though? Who would you want to actually engineer for, if you could?
Definitely Future.
Future.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why specifically?
I just like the way his music feels, man. Like, you know, it's like hard hit. Like I love trap music, bro. And I love melodic music, and he's kind of the best of both. Who else am I thinking of? Lil Baby would be cool.
Dude, Lil Baby, his lyrics are crazy.
Man, so many artists, dude. Probably Travis.
Really?
And you know what I also feel like Chicago has so many talented artists, but no one puts anyone on. I feel like in Chicago for some reason. Do you think that's true, or do you see it another way?
I think the city's music scene, like it can be cliquish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a distinctly like Chicago music scene type thing. I think it's more of like a Chicago thing in general. Like, you know, it's people have their guard up here. So, you know, I don't think people tend to trust people as much. Whereas like if you look at Atlanta, like the reason why Atlanta's so successful is because people work together and people collaborate, right? And you know, Chris Classic, the owner of the studio, you know, I think he's got some things up his sleeve trying to bring the city together. So you know, I don't really want to like get too negative about this city, because like it's awesome city, a lot of talented people, and I know what it can be, but there also needs to be industry infrastructure here. Like there's a lot of artists that get on from here, but you know, when they get signed or whatever, they leave. They tend to leave. And like I understand it, because it's like, okay, if you sign to a label that's stationed in LA, you want to be close to the label, or New York or Atlanta, like wherever the case may be. And then some people leave because, you know, they come from an environment that, you know, isn't safe for them anymore. There's a target on their back. And in that case, those people should leave, because a lot of the ones that don't leave, because they might be out to prove something or something, and that they're still for the hood, or you know, whatever. Like a lot of them, you know, pass away, unfortunately. So, I mean, I think each scenario is its own unique thing. But as much talent as that's in the city of Chicago, I feel like the labels need to like have a presence here. And it's kind of weird. It's the third biggest city in the country. So like, I don't understand wide.
We're not
like
making
people
noise.
treat it over.
Yeah.
People treat it like some like flyover place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's because of the winters, that's why. But on top of that, Chicago is one of the most beautiful cities, hands down. That's why we always make videos out there and try to promote it, because I feel like people don't really acknowledge Chicago how it is. And on top of that question, to elaborate more, King Louie, there's another artist, and I saw that on your page. I've been hearing him since 2012 when I was 12 years old. And what happened with him? Does he still make music, or?
I think he's put some stuff out recently, but I think he's probably done well enough that like, and got some like other business ventures or whatever that he's been doing. Yeah. When did I record? So, what's the name of that song? I think it was called Right Now.
Okay.
It's like, I'm higher than a bitch right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the song I recorded.
Oh,
wow.
The funny thing about that song is like, he put that out with like my mix on it, but I didn't know I was mixing the song. Like it was just a rough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know, like he had his own engineer. Like I assumed like he just got in with me or whatever because his engineer wasn't available at the time. So like I just figured like, okay, I'm sending the files off to his engineer. And I think I did. But then all of a sudden, like I'm on YouTube like 3 months later, and I was like, oh, maybe that song I did. I click on it. He had a video for it. I'm like, yo, yeah, this is the song I did.
Yeah.
And then, like, I started listening to it, and I'm like, there's certain like little things that I know I did, and then how it sounded and what it. I'm like, yo, that's my mix. Like, and I was kind of like indifferent about it because I'm like, yo, this song's got like millions of views right now, and like I would love to promote that I mixed the song for King Louie, but like, you know, it's like I didn't like actually mix it. It's something I slapped together in like 10 minutes. You know what I mean? But like, people thought it sounded good apparently, so it's kind of weird like how that works. Because that's kind of a product of me being in my own head too much.
Right.
And going back to the pressure situation is like, sometimes you make the best decisions when you have the least amount of time because you're forced to act on instinct. You know what I mean?
I like that. So what you're saying is that you never really got credit for that song, or did he show the love, or?
Well, engineers barely ever get shown love, bro. That's why.
Yeah.
You know, you say you didn't even know what the engineer was. No, I mean, so like when that happens, like you just might make a post on Twitter or whatever social media you're on at the time that, you know, hey, this song just dropped mixed by me. So a lot of times it's on the engineer to kind of try to use the credits that we have to our own advantage. Now, when artists do give us shout outs, it's awesome. You know what I mean? And they need to do that more often because that's how we get work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I also think it's interesting. I think part of the reason why artists don't do it is like they want to keep their engineer to themselves, and the busier their engineer gets, they don't have as much time for them. So I always find it interesting. Is like, and this isn't always the case, right? But I've found that like my most consistent clients generally don't send me as much work as the least consistent ones do. And that's not always the case, but like a lot of the time, people that don't work with me that often are the ones that bring me like the most clients. It's kind of weird, but that kind of validates what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
I love that too, because that's true. That's why I like to go recording other people like behind the scenes, like videographers. We've done someone that's working right now currently with David Dobrik, but he's never shut it out, and I like that. Same thing with like our cameraman Nathan, and also to Brandon helping out. Like, we like to show that exposure that these people are putting hard work just as much as the person on camera, right? Like you put as much work that the person's singing too in the booth, and that's cool, because that's why we want to go around Chicago showing that love to other people behind the scenes, right? So yeah, no, dude, what you're doing is dope. You keep going at it, and I like it. I actually like it because, like, you know, I would have never known what an audio engineer would have done, right? I would just hear about producer, like Metro Boomin, and I just hear about the artist, right? But I don't hear about the audio engineer. I'm pretty sure there's 10, 20, 30 more other things they have to do, like mixing it, all the other stuff that I'm unaware of. But that's the whole point of the podcast, man, because you asked earlier, this is it.
Appreciate that, though, man. Like, people are looking to shed light on the behind the scenes stuff that most people don't know about. And I think over the last few years, there's been a lot of good things that have been putting engineers on the map. I don't know if you've ever heard of Mix by Ali.
I have.
So he's like one of the more prominent engineers in the game, and you know, he created this platform called Engineers, like spelled engineers.
Oh, that's mine.
And it's shed light on a lot of engineers. It's actually it's a system that artists and creatives can use to get in touch with engineers, and like facilitates like the payment process and protects both sides. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's allowed a lot of artists to get in contact with people they might not have been able to think they could have been in contact with, and also help you know, beginning artists find people to mix their records and get that sound they're looking for.
It gets you recognition too as well. Makes those two people, which is smart, which is good too. I feel like a lot of people should be aware of what other people do with their jobs too as well.
Yeah.
It's like I said, a lot of people don't know what behind the scenes look like, and I feel like it should be more exposed, you know, and should be more accredited and stuff like that, which is always why I shout out all the people too. Today Nathan couldn't come here to record, so his boy Brandon came in helping us right now. So, you know, I understand too how it is, and dude, yo, keep going at it. Keep going at it.
Yeah.
Any questions you have left?
No, I don't think so.
Your story, man. It was lit. It was lit. Is there anything else you want to add, or something you want to just shout out, or?
Like, to anybody out there that has an idea about what they want to do with their life, don't let anybody tell you any different. Obviously, be logical in your thinking, have common sense, but like, just go for it, man. But if you go for it, you gotta be 10 toes down in it. Like, there's gotta be no other option. Like, if you have a plan B, then you never fully intended plan A to work out. You know what I mean? So whatever you gotta do, do it.
I love that. And where can the boys find you at?
Boys can find me at Instagram, Cole_KRUGGEL. So COLE_KRUGGEL.
All right, boys, you heard it here. This is Cole right here, one of the best audio engineers. So if you see him, go shout him out, man.